Hello, friends.
Wow, that's bad.
Hello, humans and others. I don't know, you could maybe not identify as a human. I would identify as a trash panda. Today, I thought I would go through my favorite required reading. I feel like I should have done this when school had started, but I forgot. School starts in August now or whatever, and it's September, and I was looking at the little tables at the bookstore saying this is what required reading is now, and it's so different from when I was in school
all those eons ago.
The required reading has changed. So some of my favorite books came from my English classes. So let's get started. The first book I want to talk about is a classic. Of course they are.
They're all classic.
A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. Please excuse my copy. It is very worn and well loved. We were required to write in it, and there's a lot of little annotations. I really liked doing it. I also did not want to read this book. A Tale of Two Cities takes place during the French Revolution, which is always a super fun time. And there's a lot of twists and feelings. I feel all the feelings. I recommended this to my husband and he was like,
How's this book? Good.
Guess what?
it is. I really need to get a pretty edition of this, but I still really like this. I even drew on the cover. I gave a lady a mustache and the guy who's flirting with her.
This beautiful mustache, my lady.
The characters are really well developed and it's really, really woven well into the revolution and the storming of the Bastille. I love this book. I even dreamcasted it. It helped me get through it better. Yeah, I have a little cast list right here of everyone. If you can't really read Dickens, I recommend an audiobook. So good, so great. And also I found that when I was 13 or 14 when I had to read this book, I found that casting it with actors that I loved really helped me get through it, and I just loved it, and I believe I cried at the end. The next book is Frankenstein. Oh, there's a sticker.
Can we get the sticker off? Is this gonna be peel porn or peel pain?
Peel porn. The next book is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. First of all, girlfriend was 19 when she wrote this. 19. This is, I wouldn't say it's spooky, but it's very interesting. Reads much more like a thriller and a mystery than anything. I know some people really don't like this. This edition is beautiful. It's suspenseful and smart. Frankenstein is often confused with the monster. His name is the Monster. First name the, last name Monster.
Last name ever, first name greatest.
Frankenstein is the doctor, or Frankenstein, if you will. I read this every once in a while. Look at that. The sides are dyed red. It's so beautiful. Thank you, Barnes & Noble, for creating this beauty. I've reread it maybe 3 or 4 times since I had to read it my senior year of high school, and I hope they still recommend this to teenagers. It's such a great book, and I wouldn't have picked it up otherwise. Now, in companion with this book, I had to read Bram Stoker's Dracula. Did not enjoy that so much. The next book, I feel like is a very unpopular opinion, but it is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. My copy is like this. I wanted a really pretty copy, and inside it came with its own little jazz CD so you can listen to jazz while you read the book. Isn't that nice? This book took me completely by surprise. I was not required to read this in school, and I don't know why. I don't know why I had to read Of Mice and Men and To Kill a Mockingbird. I mean, I'm glad I saw To Kill a Mockingbird, the movie with Gregory Peck, but I don't know why I wasn't required to read this book. So this one's cheating, but anyway. It's kind of romancy. One of the most hated characters of mine is in this book, and it's so decadent and wonderful, and I love the 20s. I love the drama of this book. I love the narrator, Nick. Everything in this book just makes me so happy. It sparks joy, even though the ending is kind of sad. So if you haven't read this book, spoilers. Just kidding. Not really. You should read this book. No other reason why other than I love it and I want you to trust me. There's a lot of interesting themes. There's a lot of interesting themes, ideas brought up in this book that I feel like a lot of people don't talk about wanting things and then wanting more and not thinking about the consequences. And I feel like a lot of people do that today, and this is just a book about those consequences, to me at least. I could be completely off the mark with that. My next couple of favorites I had to read twice. I had to read it once in high school and then again in college. So here's my little trashed edition from college. Did I have to write in it? No, thank goodness. One of my favorite books of all time. And then my husband bought me this really pretty copy when we went to a baseball game. I brought this book into the game with me, and security judged me. They're like,
Why do you have a book?
and I said,
To read it?
this book follows Elizabeth Bennet and the Bennet family, and they are quite a cast of characters. I even named my kitty after one of the characters. She's gorgeous and wonderful. Her name is Miss Kitty Bennet, but her full name is Her Ladyship Miss Kitty Agatha Bennet. This is who I am as a person. And there's shenanigans and romance and misunderstandings, and it's such a forward-thinking book for its time. There's a reason why there's so many retellings and remaking of the movies and making it into more movies, and we don't talk about that one with Keira Knightley. We're just gonna push that one out of here. Watch the one with Laurence Olivier. He's wonderful. He's a king. I love him. The last book that was required reading for me, Orlando by Virginia Woolf. One of my favorite books ever. I've only read it the one time when I had to read it in college, and I read it all in one night. It is about a non-conforming person named Orlando. They are not dedicated to one gender, and I think that's such an amazing idea, amazing concept. And Orlando travels through time, and it's beautifully written. The story is beautifully constructed, and I hope that this book is still required reading. I have more books that I would like to read that are still required reading, because I feel like my window of required reading in school was so very small. I didn't have to read Catch-22 or 1984 or Jane Eyre, any of those things that just sound so interesting to me. And I guess maybe when you're required to read things, it doesn't make it fun. But I also wish that required reading was more of like, what did you take away from this book, versus like, look at these different themes and blah blah blah, and maybe why did he keep using this color? Maybe it was his favorite color. You know, I think that required reading by female authors is way more interesting than anything by male authors. But yes, I find that required reading by female authors is way more interesting. Their ideas are more interesting. They're less, I feel like the concepts with female authors in required reading are less common. You know, like the concept by Virginia Woolf and Orlando, like a non-conforming gender human. What? Pew, 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 must have been crazy for the time. Or even Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, trying to write a spoopy book in the middle of the night, and she was like, bam, I'm gonna write this instead. Or Charlotte Bronte didn't even get to venture into that when I was in school. So we're gonna do that someday, not today, but we'll come back to this. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please tell me your favorite required reading, and I'll see you next time. I don't know about the finger guns anymore, but make those choices.